Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. It's good to be here. I'm going to begin with the largest possible context, which is using a word that it's always hard to say out loud, but I'm going to do it. G-O-D, God. Things are changing with how people, mortals, experience God. And they've changed really a lot in the last, since it started around the 1950s, when there were books written about the death of God, when secularism was assumed it would become the almighty, all-powerful thing, and religion would basically go out of business. That did not happen. Instead, religion split into different groups, frankly, mostly around the gay issue, in the same way that religion split into two groups in this country around slavery in the previous century. And there were those who were more open to less literal interpretations compared to those who wanted to be literal and thought the Bible, again, mistakenly, I think, was against any kind of change in gender or how women were treated or how people who were gay were treated. So instead, religion actually had a revitalization in certain sectors of American society, but they were all new. The old sectors, the longer you're an immigrant, the less good shape your building is in, you'll find. So this change in the notion of God meant that thriving movements that loved God, loved organs, loved pews, loved European architecture, loved steeples pointing up, had a whole set of ideas about God that were then reflected in their buildings. Following that, in the 1970s, there was a new movement called the spiritual but not religious movement, which said, we want to be spiritual, but we don't like organized religion. And the joke became, well, welcome to my congregation. We represent disorganized religion here. So we had this shift to the spiritual but not religious. The new buzzword, and we're going to get to buildings real quick now. The new buzzword is post-secular. Post-secularism, that both religion and spirituality and secularism are all gone, and people are very interested in what those of us who went to seminary call God's next revelation. In my denomination, the Pilgrims and the Puritans, we say God is still speaking. It's a way to undercut fundamentalism and literalism. It's also a way to be gay friendly. It's also a way to signal your side. And it comes from something that preacher John Robinson said on the Mayflower coming over, that God has yet more light and truth to show forth in God's holy word. So God is still speaking, God is continuing, and we're all sitting around wondering what God's going to do next. And it's not going to be secular, and it's not going to be religious, and it's not going to be spiritual. So enter the building. Because these movements have been in such flux, their buildings have deteriorated because the faith and certainty of people has also deteriorated. And that's just a historical fact. People say they just can't stomach all the old ideas about God. And then you look at these buildings with grass growing up and through the cracks in their parking lots with, I love the signs that are no longer taken care of. Worship at Sunday, all welcome, W-E-C-O-M-E, the L has dropped. We're going out of the building business rapidly due to changes in how we think about God fundamentally, and then membership decline and deferred maintenance. So what do you do with the buildings? What do you do with the buildings? Becomes, for me, a theological question. And I think we're going to find out what we think about God by what we do next with these buildings. Obviously, adaptive reuse. Joining up with having 5 congregations in one building like we do at my congregation, Judson Memorial Church, from which I'm just rewiring now. That's a theological assumption about God, isn't it? That you'd worship 5 groups in one building. Partnering with the arts, that the arts are the modern day prophets, maybe using the enormous resources of land to do affordable housing and mission consistent activities that help the poor. There's very little disagreement about how God feels about the poor or the outsider, by the way, even if you don't believe in God. So all of these adaptive reuses are of tremendous architectural interest, but they begin in changes in our theologies. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Donna. Would you just like to say a quick word about what Bricks and Mortals is out to do, what this project is for?
Bricks and Mortals is hoping to save beautiful religious buildings by helping them live to pray another way, another day. And it's an organization that represents denominations, clergy, activists, organizers, politicians, developers, architects, and brokers. I might say that probably from my heart, and not everybody in Bricks and Mortals thinks the same way I do, from my heart, the best thing that could happen would be the highest possible mission consistency, which would immediately exclude not only craft breweries, and I like a good beer, but also high rent, luxury, gentrifying housing. So that's what we're for and against.